Here's something nobody tells you when you first get into gardening. The most experienced gardeners, the ones with the lushest, most overflowing yards, they're not out there every spring, sweating over seed trays and nursery runs and planting schedules. They figured out a secret years ago, and once you know it, you'll never look at your garden the same way again. July is one of the most underrated planting windows in the entire gardening calendar. Most people think of it as the middle of the season, a time to water, weed, and wait. But savvy gardeners know that July is actually the setup month. It's when you plant for next year and every year after that. Because the flowers we're covering today do something remarkable. They drop their seeds before frost. Those seeds overwinter right in the soil, and come spring, they germinate on their own. You don't sow them. You don't fuss over them. They just come back. We're going to walk through 9 self-seeding flowers that are genuinely well-suited to American gardens, the kind of plants that thrive in our climate zones, attract our native pollinators, and fill in spaces with almost zero effort on your part. Some of them you've probably grown before. Some might be new to you. All of them belong in a garden that you want to work smarter, not harder. Let's get into it. 1. Black-eyed Susan, Rudbeckia hirta. If there is one flower that defines the American meadow, it's the black-eyed Susan. That bold yellow ray with the dark brown center is practically synonymous with summer across the entire country. And for good reason. Rudbeckia hirta is tough, adaptable, and one of the most reliable self-seeders you'll ever grow. Plant seeds or transplants in July, and you're giving them the full heat of summer to establish, which they love. These plants are native to North America and have deep evolutionary roots in hot, dry summers and cold winters. They're not just tolerating your climate, they're thriving in it. The seeds they produce in late summer are small, chaff-covered, and absolutely loved by goldfinches and other seed-eating birds. But enough of those seeds make it to the soil every year that your patch will never disappear. What makes Rudbeckia especially valuable in a self-seeding garden is that it naturalizes beautifully without becoming invasive. The new plants tend to cluster near the parent, filling in gaps rather than taking over. You'll get some variation in plant height and bloom time from year to year, which actually adds character. A monoculture looks planted. A naturalized drift of black-eyed Susans looks like it belongs. Plant them in full sun, give them well-drained soil, and water them in well this July. After that first season, you can largely step back and watch. 2. Larkspur, Consolida ajacis. Larkspur is the flower that gardeners either don't know about or are completely obsessed with. There is very little middle ground. And if you haven't grown it yet, July is a perfect time to change that. Here's the thing about Larkspur. It's technically a cool season annual, which means it doesn't love the peak of summer heat. But planting in July in most American climate zones sets it up to establish before the real cold hits, and those seeds dropped in late summer will stratify naturally through winter. That freezing and thawing process that tells a seed it's time, and emerges some of the earliest, most breathtaking blooms of the following spring. The flowers are tall, elegant spires and shades of violet, blue, pink, white, and deep purple. They look like something out of a cottage garden painting, and they attract hummingbirds with almost magnetic force. Plant a patch of larkspur near a window or a spot where you spend time outdoors, and you'll have a regular hummingbird show every morning come May. Larkspur does need to be direct seeded. It doesn't transplant well because of its taproot, so scratch the soil, scatter seeds, and press them in lightly. They need light to germinate, so don't bury them deep. Once they self-sow, they'll handle that process on their own, dropping seeds from drying seed pods in late summer. The following year, you'll find them exactly where they want to be, often in more interesting places than you would have put them yourself. Do note that all parts of larkspur are toxic, so keep that in mind if you have curious pets or young children. 3. Cosmos, Cosmos bipinnatus. Cosmos might be the most cheerful flower in the self-seeding category. Everything about them is light and airy. The feathery foliage, the tissue paper petals, the way they sway at the slightest breeze like they're dancing in slow motion. They're impossibly easy to grow, and once you give them a spot they like, they'll come back faithfully year after year through self-seeding. July planting gives Cosmos a solid window to bloom before frost, and more importantly, to set seed. The seeds are long, narrow, and produced in abundance. When the flowers go to seed and the heads dry out, the seeds drop straight down around the base of the plant. Come the following spring, you'll notice dozens of tiny cosmos seedlings coming up right where the parents were. You can thin them, move them, or just let them fill in. They're graceful enough to look intentional in almost any arrangement. Cosmos love neglect in the best possible way. Rich soil actually makes them floppy and less floriferous. Sandy, lean, average soil is what they want. Full sun, very little water once established, and zero fertilizer. The more you fuss, the worse they do. This is a plant for gardeners who want results without the micromanagement. For self-seeding success, leave the spent flower heads on the plant rather than deadheading everything. Let at least a third of your blooms go to seed each season. The following spring, you'll have a volunteer crop that cost you nothing and took zero effort. 4. California poppy, Eschscholzia californica. Don't let the name fool you. While California poppies are indeed native to the West Coast, they've naturalized across enormous swaths of the country and perform beautifully in gardens from the Pacific Coast to the Mid-Atlantic. They are sun-loving, drought-tolerant, and some of the most enthusiastic self-seeders in the entire flower kingdom. The blooms are silky, luminous orange, though modern varieties now come in cream, yellow, coral, pink, and red. And they open in full sun and close at night or on cloudy days, which gives them an almost theatrical quality. They're low-growing, usually topping out around 12 inches, which makes them perfect for the front of a border or spilling over a pathway edge. Planting in July in most zones gives the plants time to flower, set seed, and go through their natural life cycle before the cold arrives. The seeds are tiny, round, and produced in long, slender pods that curl back dramatically when they're ripe and ready to release. A single plant can drop hundreds of seeds, and a high percentage of them will germinate the following spring. Direct sow by broadcasting seeds over bare or lightly cultivated soil. Press them in. Water regularly until germination, then water only during dry spells. Once established, these plants prefer to be forgotten. They handle heat, drought, and poor soil with a cheerfulness that would put most ornamentals to shame. One practical note, California poppies have a taproot and don't like being disturbed once they've settled in. If you want to move volunteers, do it when they're tiny seedlings before the taproot has a chance to establish. After that point, they're happy where they are. And usually they've chosen a good spot. 5. Foxglove, Digitalis purpurea. Foxglove is the kind of plant that makes a garden look like it has a history. Those towering spikes of tubular, spotted blooms, typically in shades of pink, purple, cream, and white, carry an old-world weight that's hard to replicate with anything else. They belong against stone walls, at the back of a border, along a fence line. Anywhere vertical drama serves the design. Digitalis purpurea is a biennial, meaning it takes 2 growing seasons to complete its life cycle. Plants started in July of this year will produce their gorgeous foliage rosettes the first year, and then put on their full, stunning bloom show the second year before setting seed and dying. Here's where the self-seeding magic happens. The plants drop enormous quantities of seeds before they die, and those seeds germinate to produce the next generation of first-year plants, which in turn bloom the following year. Once you get the cycle going, you always have both first-year and second-year plants in the garden simultaneously, which means blooms every single year. Getting that cycle started in July is key. Give your seeds or transplants time to establish before the first frost. A foxglove wants part shade to full sun depending on your climate. In the south and hot parts of the country, afternoon shade is essential. It appreciates rich, consistently moist soil, but handles ordinary garden conditions once established. One important note, foxglove is toxic if ingested. Keep it away from vegetable beds and be aware of its presence if you have animals that graze in the garden. But, in terms of pollinators, it's invaluable. Bumblebees, in particular, have a special relationship with foxglove blooms, crawling inside the tubular flowers to reach nectar and emerging dusted in pollen. 6. Sweet alyssum, Lobularia maritima. Sweet alyssum doesn't make headlines the way some of these other flowers do. It's not dramatic. It doesn't tower overhead or command attention from across the yard. But as a self-seeding ground cover annual, it is almost without equal in American gardens. And gardeners who've learned to love it swear by it. The flowers are tiny, clusters of white, pink, or purple blooms that together form a low, cascading carpet. And they smell extraordinary. Up close, the fragrance is a soft, warm honey vanilla that draws in beneficial insects in numbers that will genuinely surprise you. Beneficial wasps, hoverflies, parasitic wasps that prey on aphids and caterpillars. They all adore alyssum. Growing it near your vegetables is one of the smartest pest management strategies you can implement with a flower. Plant sweet alyssum in July and it will bloom until frost, setting seed throughout the season rather than waiting until the end. This is what makes it such an effective self-seeder. It has months to produce and drop seeds. The following spring, you'll find it coming up in cracks and pathways, along the edges of beds, at the base of larger plants, in spots you never thought to plant anything. It softens hard edges, ties together mixed plantings, and creates that it all grew there naturally look that takes intentional gardens years to develop. Alyssum will slow down in the peak of summer heat but tends to revive with cooler fall temperatures, putting on another flush of bloom before frost. In warmer USDA zones, it may behave almost like a perennial. In colder zones, it dies completely over winter, but volunteers reliably emerge the following spring. 7. Cleome, Cleome hasleriana. Cleome, also called spider flower, which gives you a sense of its unusual architecture, is one of those plants that looks genuinely exotic but grows with all the ease of a wildflower. The flowers are large, airy clusters of pink, white, or purple blooms set on top of tall, sometimes 4 to 5 foot stems, and they have long, spidery stamens that extend far beyond the petals. They bloom from midsummer through frost, and during that time they attract hummingbirds and a wide range of long-tongued bees and butterflies. Cleome is one of the most aggressive self-seeders on this list, which is both its greatest virtue and the one thing you need to manage. A single plant can produce and drop hundreds of seeds. In a bed where you want Cleome every year, that's wonderful. You get a full, naturalized planting from one season's investment. In a bed where you don't, you'll be pulling volunteers. The key is knowing where you want them and editing the rest. This is actually easy because the seedlings are distinctive. They smell strongly of Cleome even when tiny, a pungent, resinous scent. And easy to identify and remove if they're coming up somewhere inconvenient. The ones you let stay will grow quickly and reliably. Plant seeds in July by pressing them into the soil surface and keeping them moist until germination. Cleome needs warmth to germinate, so July is ideal. Give them full sun and average soil. Skip the fertilizer. Like Cosmos, they don't need it. And too much nitrogen makes them go all to foliage. Once they're established, step back and let them do their thing. 8. Columbine, Aquilegia canadensis. Aquilegia canadensis, the native red and yellow columbine, is one of those plants that connects your garden to its deeper ecology in a way that few ornamentals can. It's native across a wide swath of eastern North America. It blooms in mid-spring when nectar sources are still scarce, and its distinctive spurred flowers are perfectly engineered for hummingbirds, which are among the first migrants returning in spring, and need exactly what Columbine offers. Columbine is technically a short-lived perennial. It lives about 3 to 4 years, but it self-seeds so readily and freely that a well-established colony will always have young plants coming up to replace the ones that age out. July planting gives the seeds or transplants the rest of the warm season to develop their root systems before going dormant over winter, and plants established in summer will often bloom the following spring. The self-seeding habit of Columbine is charming partly because it's somewhat random. The plants pop up in unexpected places, between stepping stones at the base of a shrub, along a shaded fence, and often those volunteer plants are better positioned than anything you planned. Aquilegia species also hybridize freely, so if you grow multiple species or cultivars, your volunteers will eventually be one-of-a-kind genetic originals. Columbine prefers part shade, to full shade, making it one of the few truly shade-tolerant self-seeders on this list. It wants consistently moist, well-drained soil, and will struggle in the deep south without some afternoon protection. In the mid-Atlantic, Midwest, Pacific Northwest, and mountain states, it thrives with minimal intervention. Let the seed heads dry on the plant in late summer rather than deadheading, and the seeds will take care of next year all on their own. 9. Borage. Borigo officinalis. We're ending with something a little different. A flower that belongs in both the ornamental and edible garden, and one that does something almost no other self-seeder does quite as effectively. Borage produces brilliant, star-shaped flowers in the most vivid true blue in the annual flower palette. Blue flowers are genuinely rare in the garden. Most so-called blue flowers are actually lavender or purple. And Borage's sky blue blooms with their dramatic black stamens are the real thing. They're also edible, with a mild, cucumber-like flavor that makes them popular for garnishing salads, floating in drinks, and decorating cakes. But the real reason borage earns a spot on this list is what it does for your garden ecosystem. Bees are attracted to borage with an intensity that can only be described as devotion. On a warm July or August morning, a patch of borage in full bloom sounds like it's humming. The nectar is abundant and accessible, and bees return to borage plants again and again throughout the day. Planting borage near your vegetable garden, especially near tomatoes, squash, and strawberries, improves pollination rates noticeably. Plant borage in July by direct sowing. It doesn't transplant well due to its taproot. The seeds are large and easy to handle. Germination is fast, and plants grow quickly in warm weather. They'll bloom within 6 to 8 weeks and continue until frost. When the flowers set seed, the seeds drop straight down to the soil, and the following spring you'll find a reliable crop of volunteers right where the parents grew. In mild climates, borage can even self-sow into late fall and overwinter as small rosettes. Give it full sun, average to poor soil, and modest water once it's established. Like most of the plants on this list, borage rewards a light touch. The less you fuss, the better it performs. So here's what you do with all of this. Pick 2, maybe 3. Don't try to plant all 9 of them this July. Not because it's too much work, but because starting with a few allows you to really observe how they behave in your specific garden, your specific soil, your specific microclimate. Self-seeding plants reward gardeners who pay attention. You'll start to notice where volunteers come up most readily, which spots they choose on their own, which combinations they make naturally. That's information you can use to make your garden better every year. Then, next July, you'll have all of that knowledge plus the momentum of a garden that's already partly filling itself in. You add 1 or 2 more self-seeders to the mix. You let the successful ones spread further. You edit out the ones that ended up somewhere they don't work. And gradually, over 2 or 3 seasons, something remarkable happens. Your garden starts to feel alive in a different way. Not like a collection of plants you put in specific spots, but like a living thing that has its own preferences and its own rhythm. You're still gardening. You're still making decisions, pulling volunteers from the wrong places, supporting the ones in the right places. But you've shifted from building to curating. And that shift changes your relationship with the garden entirely. The gardeners with the most beautiful yards you've ever seen, this is their secret. Not a huge budget, not hours of daily labor. A handful of smart plant choices made once that have been quietly compounding on themselves for years. That's the kind of garden we're building here. If this video gave you a new flower to try this July, let us know in the comments. We read every single one. And if you know someone who's been buying the same annuals at the nursery every single spring, do them a favor and share this with them. It might just change how they garden forever. We'll see you in the next one.